any meds? And she said, no, I'm not taking any meds. He goes, well, what about over the counter? Like, what are you taking home? She says, I don't take any. He goes, well, what are you doing? This describes the lady. She goes, I'm kicking ass and taking names. It's like, cool lady, you know, right? I mean, it's super cool. And she just changed her lifestyle. She's adopted something pretty darn cool, and she's going with it. So anyway,
just can I speak to that whole like fact that nearly dead thing? I'm a proponent of juicing. All these people here know I've offered them my juices many a time. Some of them are breaking.
Do you use the Breville? What do you use?
I use a Green Star.
Oh yeah, Green Star's awesome.
It's quite elite.
Very
some of us are actually field staff. We can't afford it.
I said
it costs on the Green Star now. 400.
Yeah, you can find. I saved it for a long time. It was a goal of mine.
Yeah.
But so if you take someone who's sad diet, they're fat, sick, nearly dead, and you tell them to juice for 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever. I mean, like, all our toxicities are housed in most of our adipose tissue. So you start juicing and you release all that toxicity. Don't a lot of these people get really, really sick?
You can. I mean, I think it's definitely one of those things. You don't want to just go around and loosely just start telling people to go on any of these cleanses or what have you. A lot of them need to be managed, right? Especially ones that are on heavy prescription drugs for whatever they're on. Some are more highly toxic than others. And so you do want to kind of graduate. No different than like exercise, right? If you haven't been exercising, you don't go to the CrossFit gym tomorrow, and start doing Olympic weightlifting. Like, that just probably wouldn't be all that genius to do. That being said, so you get a little sick for a couple of days. A lot of times, you might get some headaches, or you might feel nauseous, or there's a shift happening, and your lymph is trying to drain all that crap that's been stored in the fat tissues. That guy did it. People do it every day and are changing every day with that. The juicing thing. I think you have to be a little careful with some people with like blood sugar issues, heavy blood sugar issues, because they start getting in. Everybody, like we were talking about with our kids, right? They love the fruits or the sweeter vegetables or fruits, but they don't love the blander ones quite as much. And you want to make sure that you're getting ones that don't affect their blood sugar too dramatically right off the bat. And so again, we always say, hey, find somebody who's been involved in this for a while. We do these cleanses every year. We run them a couple times a year with groups, and then people are individually doing them. And it just is, everybody is different, and so you want to make sure that, we always talk about this, one thing that's lost a little bit in healthcare, and I get it, there's tons of people, and people are jamming through, but trying to get to practitioners that will practice the art of individualized treatment, and rather than just saying, hey, you have this number, so we do this, or you're this age, so we do this. Oftentimes people don't fit that profile, right? And so you do, I think, anytime you do a cleanse or whatever, there's a lot to be kind of talked about and discussed, and then paid attention to. Generally though, with what you're saying, not to make this too long, but generally it's the first week that there's any potential symptoms. After that, people, they regulate quick. They make the switch, they make the shift, and they've got 2 or 3 days where it's bad the first week, great. But then all of a sudden, week 2, they go, God, my energy's starting to feel good. Boom, I'm sharp. Boom, I'm, whatever. So, pretty cool. A lot of good websites out there too, guys. I listened to one the other day, Ben Greenfield. Ben Greenfield is kind of a fitness guy, and he's got one of the top websites around for podcasts. He's got a lot of podcasts, and the podcasts are cool. And he had one pretty cool one on alcohol, actually, because he's always kind of been a proponent of a little bit. But he had this Australian guy on that talked about how his life changed when he eliminated alcohol. His creativity, his relationships, his thinking. And he wasn't an alcoholic by any means. He was just an Australian guy who drinks a couple beers, blows it out at a wedding, whatever. But he wanted to challenge himself to like a 30-day, then he went 100-day, then he was at a year. And then he started seeing all these things happening to him. And like I said, his mind was so good. There's a lot of podcasts out there like that are pretty cool. Ben Greenfield is a good one. Tim Ferriss is another really good one. Tim Ferriss is the guy that wrote the 4-Hour Workweek. And he also wrote I think it was the 4-Hour Body. I think he's got one on food now too. But he's got podcasts too. And a lot of these people that are doing really, really cool things through some just simple lifestyle changes. I'll say this, it's sometimes that simple. And I look at the banana that you're sitting there. I saw a lady yesterday. And all she's done, literally in the last 3 weeks now, is she shifted. She would eat 2 bananas in the morning. That was her breakfast, right? We just shifted that. That's it. She couldn't lose weight, and she was trying to get fit. She's lost 18 pounds. Get this, 18 pounds in 3 weeks, which is a lot, okay? And the only difference is that we just shifted 0 bananas, and she's eating a little bit of fat in the morning, fat and protein in the morning. That's it. Just one shift. My mother-in-law, same exact thing. She lost 30 pounds in about 6 months. The only thing she did was she shifted white wine to mineral water. She does white wine 1 day a week. She was doing it every night, just 1 glass to 2 glasses maximum. She's now just down to 1 glass, 1 day a week. She lost 30 pounds in 6 months. Only thing she did different. Everything else is exactly the same. Sometimes these shifts are so subtle, and it is so cool when you can see some of these little things and you don't know what might be just kind of disturbing you. On the banana thing, it was just too much for that woman's blood sugar, you know? So her blood sugar wasn't great. She wakes up in the morning, she jams something in, makes her blood sugar go up, she deposits more fat, metabolism's not great, and she doesn't realize she's doing it. She's thinking she's doing a good thing. Hey, it's banana, right? And it doesn't mean a banana's bad. It just meant for her, that was the wrong time of day to be doing those 2 things.
What do you think of David Wolf?
What's that?
What do you think of David Wolf?
Who is that?
Longevity Warehouse.
Yeah, Longevity Warehouse.
What's his other thing? I get sent a whole bunch of stuff from him, but he's the guy that started longevity. He did Eating for Beauty and the Sun Diet, Soul Success, or something like that.
I'm less into him as much as the guy Mark's Daily Apple. You want a cool read? Mark's Daily Apple is pretty cool. Has anybody gone on that? Have you got on it? Mark's Daily Apple is really cool, actually. He's got some good stuff. Again, he's got podcasts, but he's got a blog. He was a funny guy. His story is really interesting. He started a nutrition thing, and he said, I'm going to blog about this. And I think I've got enough content in my head to blog every day for a year. Every single day I'm going to blog for a year. And he did, and now it's 7 years later, and he's blogged every single day for 7 years on all these health topics. It just lets you know that it's endless out there. But he's on a quest to try and get us back to, hey, how can we do things to, again, just maybe alter our lifestyle just a little bit, improve our human potential, improve our sense of humanism, and our kind of place in the world. Oftentimes you see it when somebody is about to pass away or go on to kind of reflect back on their life and say, what were the things that meant the most? Jimmy Lee was Jim Galvano, a great coach for North Carolina State. He's an inspirer to a lot. But he said this on his last public speech before he was to pass in a tough battle with cancer. And it's something that I go back to a lot. You know, when you finish your day, have you been doing any of this stuff? One of the tough things I think is that we've talked a lot about physical stuff today. You know, we talk about food and we talk about exercise, we talk about meds versus vitamins and all that kind of stuff. But there is no question that this element is more powerful than it all. It's like not even close. We can't quantify it or objectify it perhaps, but you all know it, right? You get around people who are doing this and you see their life, their health, their energy, it's contagious. You get around people who are doing the opposite, it's tough. And so I've always liked that, the 3 things you should do every day. Laugh, think, and let your emotions drag you to tears, right? And how many of us do that? But it's like a good cry, whether positive or negative, just let something out, and you feel refreshed after that. It's like, man, I needed to get that out, Or I needed to be so present in whatever conversation I was just in, that we got moved to tears because we were just so present, right? That idea of present time consciousness, it's kind of disappeared, right? With all the phones and all that, everything. It's like, it's not present. We're distracted. But those that get present, and I like that. That's a heck of a day, right? It's a full day, but it's a heck of a day. And getting yourself into that mode is kind of one that I think you don't want to disregard when it comes to it. Make the cool nutrition changes. Get your omega-3s a little bit better. That's a good thing. Try to get off the prescription drugs or encourage some of that. But maybe it's start here. And I think too, one thing he puts in there, number 2 is think. And that is literally it, guys. When you looked at those comments, they were all in some spiritual deal, meditation, prayer, call it whatever you want. They didn't call it religion. They just spend some time alone. Constaneta, what did he say? The great philosopher Tim said, one of man's biggest problems is his inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Right? It's uncomfortable. It's just you and your thoughts, right? Can you get your mind right? If you can, god dang, pretty darn cool. So when you change the way you look at things, the things that you really look at do change. I think it's kind of a cool deal. So anyway, thoughts?
So we hear a lot about influence of cortisol now, and cortisol and increasing our inflammation, whether it be heart or just an ability to, I guess, release stress. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So again, the number one way to reduce stress is that. So you reduce your cortisol levels by being in that, that kind of spiritual thing. But certainly, things that seem to affect cortisol a lot are those night shifts. I know you guys work in some night shifts, right? They've kind of actually proven this. You cannot regulate your cortisol. Nobody can. They do it on shift workers, and it's like, you can do everything you want with nutrition and all this kind of stuff, but you're working those night shifts, it's just not normal with regards to sun and so forth. It's like, we're supposed to be sleeping when it's dark and awake when it's light. But,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sugar's the big deal. So sugar feeds that system a lot, especially processed refined sugar. So you get the processed refined sugar thing going, and you're more likely to be creating kind of these surges in cortisol and adrenaline and so forth. Because when your blood sugar dysregulates, you got to get energy from somewhere, right? And so your body often goes to the adrenaline system to keep the energy going. And so, cortisol breaks you down. You get cortisol in your system all the time, it breaks you down. They talk about the most basic of science. They talk about your fight or flight system, or they call it either the rest or digest, or the feed and breed system. We're supposed to be in the feed and breed or rest and digest system most of the time mentally, right? We're not supposed to be over here fight or flight. We're supposed to be able to do it to survive, but it's a one-time thing, it's a short-term thing, and then you're done. The other thing is the way to get cortisol out of your body is to move. Okay? You have to be moving. If you're sitting, it's deathly. And that's why, one of the great studies they've been doing lately is on kids and video games. Because when kids are playing video games, and even to some extent us in front of a TV or in front of a computer screen, our cortisol levels actually go up when we don't know that they are. But they're actually going up, bright colors, flashing lights, all that kind of stuff. But then you sit. And it's a super huge problem because you're not getting the cortisol out. The natural way to get it out is just to move. And so if you're not, it breaks you down, right? Bone, muscle, heart, whatever. And now you start to create a lot of inflammation.
We were talking about this with Dr. Giorgio too. He was saying, so he made this comment in one of our meetings that you put people with sleep apnea who are overweight or whatever, you put them on CPAP or BiPAP at night and they lose like 20 or 30 pounds in 2 weeks. And I was like, what? How does that happen? And he just said, when they have that sleep apnea, they're waking up every 2 minutes, so their cortisol levels are through the roof and they're retaining all this fluid. Sorry.
And depositing
magnetic.